September 27th, 2022 meeting of the Public Works Committee. I now call this meeting to order. Please be advised that FATV is conducting an audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. I ask that anyone in the audience who is recording this meeting to please identify themselves for the record now by standing and stating their name and address. At this time, I ask that all electronic devices be placed in silent mode. I'm Councilor Schultz. I'm filling in for Councilor Fleming, the chairperson of the committee. I'm joined by Councilor Boschman and Councilor Cragen and also Councilor Squalia remotely. So let's move on to the agenda. Let's have we need a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting, and that was July 26, 2022.
Second.
And we can do that by unanimous consent unless I hear otherwise. DPW updates. Commissioner Erickson?
Yep. So I just want to provide a quick update on paving because we're getting towards the end of the year and we're trying to get something done before the snow flies. The issue that we've run into is that in previous year we had a very tight contract where all the roads that we paved were street specific, so it wasn't an on-call. So this summer we've been working through drafting a new contract. Unfortunately, we've been extremely short-staffed, so it's taken longer than usual to get this out, but it's going to be a 3-year on-call so that next year we don't have to go through the same process. We're in the process of trying to get that contract out still, so until we get the bid prices from the contractors, we're not going to be able to determine exactly how far our dollars are going to go. But right off the top, we're definitely going to pave Clarendon Street, and we're definitely going to pave Industrial Road. With Clarendon Street, the sidewalks need to be done first. We're doing full sidewalks, granite and concrete. Right now, the granite suppliers have stopped taking orders for the year, so that needs to wait until springtime because we obviously need to do the sidewalks before we do the paving. So unless a miracle happens, unfortunately, I think that one's going to have to wait until springtime. We already went out and started clearing trees. Councilor Boschman knows this. Councilor Squalia knows this too. So that's in preparation for that paving work, which will hit the ground running in springtime. We'll get this contract out this fall. I'm still hoping that we get Industrial Road done this year because it's a simple mill and overlay job. So theoretically, if we get the contract bid out, awarded to a contractor before the asphalt plants close, we'll have enough time to still mill and pave. We're also trying to work some additional paving into the combined sewer separation project that's being done by Polito & Sons Construction right now. So we're trying to get prices from the contractor to take care of some of the roads that were destroyed or somewhat affected by the combined sewer separation work. So I don't want to get everyone's hopes up by releasing the streets that we're going to go after with that kind of pot of money, but that's something we're looking at taking care of before the end of the year here. So I think that impacts your ward a little bit, Councilor Boschman, so it's a good thing. So that's where we're at with paving. And with this 3-year on-call, like I said, we're going to hit the ground running next spring with Clarendon Street and the other streets that are on the list pending available funds. We've got about $3 million to spend between our Chapter 90 budget, the free cash appropriation by the mayor, and the Winter Recovery Assistance Program through Mass DOT, which provided us with $600,000 worth of funding. And then we've also got some paving donations from Unitil and the wastewater division that we'll use to supplement the work on Clarendon Street. So we're in a better spot now than we have been in previous years where we've relied entirely on Chapter 90 funding. So despite asphalt prices being incredibly high right now, we should be able to pave more than usual, beginning this fall and all the way through next spring and summer.
Is Kimball Street on the list?
So Kimball Street still needs combined sewer separation work, unfortunately. So we're left with a hard choice. We can either wait until that combined sewer separation work happens, which isn't going to be for another, I think, 6 years, if I remember correctly. That's one of the last phases in the combined sewer separation work required under the consent decree. Or we can try to pave it as cheaply as possible now and at least make it a somewhat smooth 6 or 7 years until that combined sewer separation work happens. So we're kind of stuck trying to make that decision. I'm leaning towards at least patching the potholes and putting down a shim coat on the top just to make it smooth, because it's really bad right now.
Will that be done this fall, you think?
That, the anticipation would be if that contract gets bid out this fall and we have the ability and the contractor that we award the contract to has the availability just to do something this fall to get it through. Because that particular road, along with Franklin Road and a couple others, habitual pothole patching, over and over multiple times throughout the season just because of how bad the
The
road is.
reason I ask, we have a petition for a small area on, I think it's on Pearl Street, so.
Right.
Just wondering if that, if that can be taken care of as well.
So just to preface that discussion, which we'll get into later, I don't believe the petition process is the correct way to go about getting a road paved. So we'll discuss that as we get through the agenda.
Okay, Council Boschman had a question?
Yeah, I got a question. My question to you, are we going to use, I'm told that we go to Keating's over there, and their product is not as good as, say, the place up in Barry, Mass. So when we pave these roads, are we shooting for the better quality of stuff, or are we just going to go with whichever the cheapest way to go?
So it depends on what the contractor chooses, basically. So we sub all the work out to a contractor. The contractor is the one that chooses which asphalt plants to get the mix from. It's tough because there are plants that produce a better asphalt, but they're further away, so there's additional trucking time. The mix sometimes cools off a little faster, or not faster, but it's allowed to cool off because it's a longer travel time. So that's something that we have to talk to the contractor that comes on board with us to see if they'd be willing to go to a different plant.
All right. I guess that would be it. So you're telling me Clarendon Street in the springtime?
Yeah,
I
because
know.
of the granite issue.
Okay, now, are we, starting next year, are we going to start paving roads in early spring, or are we going to wait?
Early spring.
Early spring.
April 15th is when our excavation moratorium for the winter expires, and that's right around when the asphalt plants open. So the goal is to, hit the ground running in April, late April, just start paving until our funds are exhausted.
All right. All right, that's it.
Okay, so is that it, Commissioner Erickson? Okay, well, why don't we move on to the agenda then? We got agenda item petition 23022, Ward 4, Councilor Andrew Van Hazinger to install a berm at 26 Whittemore Street. And we have Councilor Van Hazinger present.
Thank you. Good evening, councilors. So I was contacted by the resident at 26 Whittemore Street who's concerned about a strip of land between his property and the street. And I guess his first request was that the city could maintain it or landscape it, and talk with the DPW and explain that the city just doesn't have the capacity to maintain landscaping in those areas because they have to do it all over the city. It's just beyond our capacity. We have enough other things to worry about. So his second request is that, at the very least, could he get a berm to secure it in? So I submitted a petition on his behalf. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them the best I can.
How long of a berm is
I don't have it specific. I did not get my tape measure, but I want to say it's maybe 25 feet, 30 feet, something like that. Okay.
What does Gary say?
When we put in a berm, it's usually for reasons of water runoff from the road to someone's property. And it doesn't seem to have any water going from our road onto his property. I think it's just for aesthetics. So I wouldn't put one in.
You would not put one.
Oh, that makes a big difference. All right, well, I'll make a motion, we reject, give this petition leave to withdraw, based on they get counsel, the commissioner here.
Yeah, okay. Well, you're making, you need a second to that.
Second.
Second. Okay. So is everybody in agreement? Okay. Let's move on to 23122. Councilors Andrew Van Hazinger, Councilor Paul Boschman, and Minna Talvihaju to install rapid flash beacons at the crosswalk on Main Street at Wallace Avenue to preserve safe pedestrian access between the library and institutions including the Senior Center, YMCA, Wallace Tower, and Longshow Middle School. And that was referred from the City Council on September 8th, 2022. And Councilor Van Hassinger.
Thank you, Councilor. So we have a situation where the two-way conversion of Main Street has been very successful. I think it's worked very well. One of the side effects is crossing the street is a little harder. And we have an area where there is a lot of pedestrian traffic that goes across the street in front of the library. The bus stop for the library is across the street. There's the senior center across the street, the YMCA, as I mentioned, Longstreet Middle School. We have children going back and forth. So it'd be a great idea to make sure this is as safely as possible for people of all physical abilities. Do you understand that there is some costs associated with the RFP beacons, that it can take time to get the funds? We'd also have a situation where the library is going to be redeveloped, and we have to see how that plan lines up. So I understand if this is a long-term goal to get the beacons. One shorter-term thing that could be done is that right now all the signage for the crosswalk only points east, because that was the old sole traffic direction. I mean, as a short-term fix to just have it on both sides so that cars are alerted to that there is this pedestrian crossing right there, I think would be helpful.
That seems like a reasonable request.
So my thought is if this could be approved as an aspirational goal and do some short-term fixes, and then as the library project comes online and we know exactly where the sidewalk cuts are going to line up and make sure those aren't changing, we can look for funding to put in a beacon there and make sure it's as safe as possible for everyone trying to get back and forth.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Boschman, it's your petition. Would you like to speak on it as well?
Oh, of course I want to. Well, it's not mine. It's really his petition. It's his ward. I just told him about it. Listen, I want to ask the commissioner a question. When we converted this two-way Main Street, why wasn't it the engineers never picked up on that, where the library being right there and the vast number of people crossing the street, where we could have did it all at once? I don't understand. I really don't understand when we're hiring people and we pay big money, to design a road, and they don't think about the safety precautions, especially with the library right there and have the beacons. I don't understand it. And I know I'm not that smart, but I'd like to know why. How could we miss that?
So I don't have an answer for you. So I wasn't involved with the design process until I took over for the previous commissioner. I don't know what decisions were used to dictate where the different RRFBs were installed. I know one was put out in front of City Hall over here. I know there was one that was put out on Boulder Drive in front of the parking garage. I don't know why those two locations were selected and a location like the library was not. I can ask the engineering company, Ty and Bond, what the answer is, and they might have an answer. The other thing to be cognizant of is that the contractor is still not done with some of the punch list items out here, including signage that was on back order. So the signage might very well be addressed by the contractor. I'll have to check in with PJ Albert and see if that's one of their outstanding items. And then I can follow up with you, Councillor Boschman, and see if we can get an answer from them. This project was a little bit unusual in that it was grant funded. It was drawn out. The process itself was drawn out for years beyond what it should have taken to design something like this. And then you had a few different parties involved. So there was community development, there was DPW, there was police, fire, et cetera. Everyone kind of commented on the design process, and I think the design engineers incorporated what they felt they could and what was necessary. So I'll follow up with them and try to get an answer for you. But just to speak to the petition overall, I agree that one would make sense there. We've got them on the Upper Common, we've got them in front of City Hall, we've got them on River Street across from Crocker Field, we've got them down here on Boulder Drive. I think I agree with Councillor Van Hasinga in that the signage should be addressed immediately or in the very short term. And long term, we should look to try to maybe incorporate the installation of this into the library project itself. I don't know what's planned for that sidewalk out front. I don't know if they're planning to redo everything or just keep what's there. If they're redoing everything, then that makes it a no-brainer. When they go to design that and build that, they should install the basis for the RFBs, and then we can get them installed as part of that effort. Right now, obviously, we don't have the funding to just go out and do it, and I'd hate to go out and do it and then have the library project come in a year or two and rip everything out anyways. So we want to make sure we're spending money wisely, but I agree as a long-term goal, it would be a good investment to put an RRFB in that spot.
Well,
Would you like to offer an amendment to the petition?
no, I
Councilor
want
Blanchard?
to offer, I got another question for the commissioner. And my question to you, Commissioner, why are we having the planning department, who doesn't know anything about roads construction, having a big input when they should be the engineers? This is what I'm having a hard time with. I don't understand that.
It fills a need. DPW is so busy with just the daily operation and maintenance and capital planning that what we need help with a lot of times is going after grants, and that's where community development comes in. I think that's one of the main reasons that the community development department was created, was to help the city go after grants for these large capital projects. I think in the past there's been a little bit less cooperation between departments than you're seeing now, and I think moving forward that problem is going to continue to get better. I think, looking 10 years ago, I don't think there was a whole lot of talking between DPW and community development. Community development ran their projects, DPW ran theirs, and that is what it is. I think over the past year in particular, there's been a heavy collaboration between DPW and community development, and I'd like to continue that collaboration to make sure that they're on the same page as us and vice versa. They can help us go after grants. We can help them by providing input on some of these things. A lot of times they just need to make a decision if they're not getting collaboration or input from us, and sometimes the decisions are not exactly what DPW would like to see, but nevertheless, they're filling a need that the city has and had, especially a while ago, to go after these grants. And they've been pretty successful in doing it, despite some of these things that get missed during the design process.
All right, I got no further question. I yield the floor. Unless you
We have a motion to hold this.
you have anything? Andy, you have, does he?
The idea that the DPW is going to try to install signs.
Yeah, we can commit to addressing the signage either through the PJ Albert construction contract that's going on now, or just in-house. That's a simple thing for us to take care of in a good short term.
I thought that, yeah. Is that okay with you, Andy? It's your ward.
I'm sorry, what is the?
Is that okay with you? It's your ward.
Okay, but what specifically am I okay with?
Yeah.
I'm okay with the DPW putting in signs. I think that's a great
Okay.
first
Do you
step.
want to hold this petition, Councilor Van Hatten?
My thought would be to pass it and bring it into the long-term goal. I think if we're going to wait for the library to be in place before we can act on it, I mean, that's a period of years that this will sit on the agenda. So I think even if we pass it now as a long-term goal, it's not something necessarily that it has to be taken care of tomorrow, but it could be incorporated into the city's plans for this area.
Do we need
Okay,
any?
motion for leave to withdraw, to be revisited at a later date.
I don't think that's what he was talking
No,
about.
he doesn't
Okay,
want
so
to.
we're,
I don't want to interfere with the operation.
no, go ahead.
My request would be to pass the petition.
Okay,
Because commonly, as these DPW petitions are passed, they're added to the queue of projects to be done. And there's often a long backlog of things to be done, and it takes time. And even with the acknowledgement that these beacons won't go into place, for a period of time, I think it's useful to pass the petition to highlight the council's intent for this to be done when it's appropriate.
I appreciate that.
move
Oh, sorry.
to amend the petition to pending final design, noting location of crosswalk with the library design.
How about this? How about if we just keep it simple and just pass it? Because then, as Councillor Van Housinga mentioned, it does enter the queue. We are looking at library construction, and then it gets down in the, it gets down at a level that we do not have authority over in terms of those specifics. So I make a move to pass this, motion to pass.
Do I hear a
On the
second?
motion, on the motion.
On the motion, Councilor.
On the
Blanchard.
motion, a few years ago, Cumberland Farms donated a couple beacons up there in my ward, and they're gonna go up. So why don't we just take those and put them down there? We have them. We haven't put them up there on Roadstone Street and that. So why not use them?
So Cumberland Farms donated RRFBs to us?
Yeah. When they were doing the design work up there, and they wanted to expand to make it a better parking lot and all that, we got them to, I wanted 4 beacons, but they gave us 2.
have those?
I will have to check.
We have to confirm that they actually gave them to us.
Can we do this off-site, just so we can keep moving with the agenda, since we will have to surrendering this room at 6? So we have a motion. Go ahead.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
And we'll take it by unanimous consent unless someone objects.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on to the next item.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Take care.
The next
Thank you.
petition on the agenda is 23222, City Councilor Bernie Schultz and Ron Wiedelin at 25 St. Paul Street to build a berm at the 25 St. Paul Street mailbox to stop rainwater from flooding driveway. At the same time, berm across the street at 28 St. Paul Street needs to be replaced after being destroyed completely by snow plows this past winter. I think
Yes, the replacement of the berm at
Superintendent Withington has some additional information.
the berm at 28 St. Paul needs to be replaced, but along with building up the berm at 25 St. Paul, it also needs an apron in the driveway, otherwise the water will still just go right in.
So we'll have to amend that.
Well, one question, because I was up there today, I thought the driveway was higher than the road already.
Right in the corner, Paul, where the
It's in the
berm is.
corner.
Oh, okay, all right, so you want to just build that, all right, I'll make a motion, we accept his recommendation.
With the amendment of installing an apron as well. You seconded that, Councilor Squalia? Okay, we'll take that by unanimous consent unless there's an objection.
Yep.
Okay. The next petition is 23322, Councilor Sam Squalia and Paul Bolsherman to repair the concrete driveway, apron/sidewalk in front of 186 Daniel Street. Concrete has bowed or settled in such a way as to cause damage to vehicles entering and exiting the driveway, and that was referred from City Council on September 8th, 2022, just like the first
Right,
three
the way
petitions.
that sidewalk comes down onto the road, it comes out and comes down and meets here, so any car that goes in there is gonna bottom out. So it just needs a gradual slope, so it should be replaced.
Make a motion, we accept the recommendation.
Second.
Second.
And we'll take that by unanimous consent, that it needs to be replaced. Moving on to 23422, Councilor Sam Squalia and Marisa Fleming to repair sidewalk as required, install new sidewalk and driveway apron as required at 117 Myrtle Ave. And that was referred to City Council also on September 8th, 2022.
Yes, the driveway apron is almost non-existent, and the sidewalk should be replaced with it.
I have a question for the commissioner, if you don't mind. Mr. Commissioner, I was up there looking at that 117, I think it's 117, yeah, I was up there looking at it. If we're going to start repairing sidewalks, why don't we just do the whole freaking road? I mean, they're all bad up there in that area, for the kids going to school and that. They're terrible.
I mean, they are terrible, but it's an easy fix for our guys to do in-house over the span of a couple days versus something that needs to go out to a contractor. So you're talking vastly different costs, vastly different methods of implementation. I don't disagree. Myrtle Ave needs to be done along with 90% of the rest of the roads in the city, but it's just a matter of what we can fit into a budget and what we can do with our in-house guys. We can do some in-house paving, but a whole road that needs full depth reconstruction and sidewalks and all that's beyond our limited resources in-house. You know, keep in mind we've got 15 guys on the streets division-ish, excluding the mechanics and the guys that aren't out in the streets every day. And we're patching potholes, we're cleaning catch basins, we're sweeping streets, we're responding to all the requests for trash removal and cleanup. So there's really not a whole lot of extra personnel to pull for an extended period of time to do a large-scale paving project like that. Otherwise, you're not going to get any potholes filled, you're not going to get any streets swept, you're not going to get any catch basins cleaned. People that dump mattresses on the road, that's not going to get picked up. All the trash that gets dumped on McIntyre Road isn't going to get, you get my point?
Yeah, I get your point.
So that's just, it's a matter of managing resources.
Yeah. All right, no, I'm just asking. What I don't understand, and I called Courtney up today, and I was asking, because I go to Leominster a lot because I go to church, and I was just wondering, I asked her, I noticed Leominster, they're putting in concrete sidewalks everywhere. And how are they doing it, and yet we're not doing it? I'm puzzled at that.
Well,
So-
we are doing it, Councilor Boschman, and one of the places in my ward, right on South Street and Charles Street, there's been some nice concrete sidewalks being put in there, so.
I saw that.
Yeah, so we are putting in sidewalk in-house, which is fantastic that we have the ability to do that. And then outside of that, just drive up and down Main Street and Boulder Drive. There's large sections of sidewalk that we replaced as part of that project. I think what Leominster did is they either went after a grant and got a grant to do it, or they went through the TIP process with Mass DOT. So that's the Transportation Improvement Program. So that's like what we're doing with John Fitch Highway. And that takes years of planning and engineering and all that, which we're working on with that project. And we're working on ways to line up other projects because the process takes so long. Leominster's been doing that for a long time. We're just starting to do that now for some reason. And that's, just a matter of finding time to go through that process, identifying projects, making sure you can secure the engineering design funding and all that. And up until now, we haven't been able to do that.
All right. Make a motion, please.
I have a question.
Oh,
Councilor Squalia.
Thank you. Just approximate timeline that I can share with the constituents for the Myrtle Ave sidewalk and the 186 Daniel Street. I assume next year.
Probably, yes. I'd love to get to them this year. If I have the time, I will. But I can't guarantee it.
Thank you.
Yeah, all depends on when the first snow starts too. I mean, we've gotten a foot of snow in October before, which is only a month away, so.
Yeah.
don't tell me about the snow. I hate it.
Do we hear a motion on this?
I'm making a motion.
You made a motion? Is a second? Do we hear a second?
Second.
Second. So we'll take this under unanimous consent, unless I hear otherwise. Moving on, 23722, Councilor Fleming, on behalf of Amanda Romine Nelson and Sammy Nelson of 88 Ethia Street, to pave or resurface the roadway between 7 Pearl Street and 674 Pearl Street, referred from the City Council on September 8, 2022. And I'll have Superintendent...
Make a motion, we withdraw this petition.
I have a question on this petition before we withdraw.
I think Commissioner Erickson wants to address it first, Councilor Squire. We'll give him a minute to address it.
So,
Okay.
thank you, Councilor. So there's two issues with this. The first part is that the section of roadway that's requested to be repaved includes a section from Blossom Street to John Fitch Highway, which was just done not too long ago. We're talking within the last 5 to 6 years. New sidewalks, new paving, everything. It's one of the nicest roads in the city. The section from John Fitch Highway headed outbound towards the town line certainly is in bad shape and needs to be repaired. But my personal stance on submitting petitions for paving is that it's going to cause an issue because anyone can submit a petition to get a road paved. And if we entertain this, we're opening the door for everyone that wants their road repaved to submit a petition and request to get a road repaved. And that's going to become unmanageable and unsustainable just for the city as a whole. So we have a process that we go through. It includes looking at the underground utilities. It includes looking at the pavement condition index scores. It includes looking at the average daily traffic, what businesses and residents are located in the area. And using those criteria and more, we formulate a paving list that we're able to get to every year. And we've got paving lists from Commissioner Laxo's time that we're still working through just because of the sheer volume of roadways that need to be paved and the short or small budgets that we get every year for paving from the state. So I would advise the committee not to entertain this petition.
Make a motion, we withdraw.
Second.
We'll take that by
I
unanimous.
have a question.
On the motion, Councilor Squire?
Yeah, well, before the motion, I had a question. It was that I thought we had just repaved that whole section of Pearl like 3 years ago, 2018, 2019. I don't understand why this petition, I don't even understand why we put in this petition. But Commissioner Erickson already answered that. But also, I agree, it's been an unwritten rule that we don't put in petitions for road paving, so I certainly agree with that.
Right. And
Keep it out of politics.
just to kind of add to that, we're in the process of coming up with a better way to plan for paving for 5-10 years out. We're using a combination of street scan, which Councilor Squally and I have talked about to a certain extent, and then all of our other GIS data, including water mains, sewer mains, Unitil's data, to try to come up with eligible roads and approximate costs, and using that to come up with a better way to prioritize paving every year that's a little bit more transparent and easy to understand for residents. So that's in the works. Obviously, it's tough to find time to do all this stuff because we're extremely short-staffed, and I've got other duties and responsibilities like managing the rest of the department. So we're working on it when we can, hoping to make some good progress on it this winter, hoping for not a lot of snow to allow us some time to do that. But just to get it on record that plan is in the works, and it's something that we're working towards.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Erickson. Any other questions before we move on?
No, I accept his explanation, that's why I never put any petitions in.
Right, I haven't put any in either. Okay, let's move on. It's getting late in the hour.
That was withdraw unanimous?
Yeah, that was leave to withdraw on that petition. Next item is 24322, City Council Bernie Schultz and Judy Pearl of 236 Walton Street to install a yield sign on pole 1615 facing out on Monroe Street at the intersection of Fairbanks and Monroe Streets to improve traffic safety when motorists depart from South Street Elementary School, which is now a preschool center. And that was referred from the City Council on September 20th, 2022. Commissioner Erickson, would you like to speak on that?
So typically, a yield sign request like this needs to be approved by Fitchburg Police. Sergeant Boudreau, I'd like to get his opinions on this.
He said it would require a traffic study, so we're going to be amending this petition. We're not going to ask for a yield sign. And Superintendent Withington was up at that location with me and the school personnel, the principal and the vice principal, and Sergeant Boudreau the other day. So I think Superintendent Withington probably can give some insight on that particular petition. Superintendent Withington.
Yes, I was up there with Sergeant Boudreau the other day, and the yield sign would have to go on Fairbanks Street because Monroe Street is the through street.
Yeah.
So that's the only change, but that still would need a traffic study.
Yeah. So in the meantime, we're cutting the brush.
The brush has been cut from the schoolyard down.
And there's a catch basin there at the.
Yes, that would be repaired soon.
And that's got a sawhorse on it.
Yes.
But Sergeant Boudreau also recommended if when we do repair that catch basin, that maybe we could widen that road.
Correct.
So I don't know where we're at on that, Superintendent Withington.
When we met the other day with the school, but they actually have to clear that land, so they're looking for funding for that.
So the school is looking for funding. Because that would mean a removal of that fence, that old fence that's there as well. So, okay. So I think should we have a motion to hold this petition, or?
No, make a motion, we accept their recommendation.
Yeah,
I don't want a traffic study for that.
This
No,
might
we
be
don't- we're
better
not gonna have a
suited for
traffic
public safety.
Correct.
So I don't know if that would require a motion and a vote, but motion to defer to or refer it to public safety. I'm not sure if that's possible.
Yeah. I think-
So moved.
So moved. Do we have a second for that?
I don't think I can make the.
No, you can't.
Councilor
Councilor
Squally
Squally,
did.
do I have a second for that?
I'll give you a second, Bernie.
Thank you, Councilor Boschman. So that petition is going to be referred to the Public Safety Committee for further study. Okay, the last new item that we have on the agenda is 24422. City Councilor Derek Cruz, on behalf of Tyrone and Sheila Tynes, residents of Clyde Street. I request the City of Fitchburg implement either no parking from here to the corner or no parking signs at the corner of Hancock and Summer Street, an appropriate distance on both sides, as residents exiting Hancock Street cannot see past the road cars parked there has become a public safety concern for them. And I was referred from City Council on September 20th, 2022.
I make a
Council
motion
vote.
to send this to public safety.
Send it to public safety as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give a
Second.
second. Okay, so-
On the motion, didn't, I believe both of these were referred to Public Works and Public Safety in the September 20th agenda? Is that right? So if that is the case, I don't know if we want to put any opinion or,
Maybe we could revise to hold pending decision from, or recommendation from public safety.
Yeah, we'll put them on, both on hold. Pending
we'd have
Public
to-
Safety's recommendation.
So just to
that's more,
follow the right process, there was a motion seconded and voted on for the previous one. So is there a way to rescind that
Well, I have to rescind it. That's what I have to do, if I want to.
if you want to?
I'll rescind that.
Okay, so we have a new motion for both of those petitions that we wait for the recommendation of the Public Safety Committee.
Okay, I got no problem with that. Second, or first.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. And we'll take that under unanimous consent unless someone disagrees.
No.
Okay, so we've got held petitions for review. 08920, Councilor Bernie Schultz and resident Alex Freeman to remove the no turn on red sign at the intersection of John T. Citrino Memorial Drive and Water Street. And that was, it was last held on 7/26/22. Commissioner Erickson, would you like to speak to that?
Yep, so we contracted with one of our on-call engineering consultants to conduct a traffic study for this and actually for
Okay.
093-22, and that's underway. I spoke with the woman who's running both of those projects a few weeks ago to give her some background on the two issues and provide some record plans. So they're still working through their process, but I would expect some results probably by the next meeting.
move to hold at 089 and 09322.
Second.
Okay, so both of those petitions will be held 08920 and 09322, and that, I don't think I need to read 09322 for the sake of time. We have one more held petition for review, and that's 02722, Councilor Derek Cruz on behalf of resident Bassam Abwad at 8 Boylston Street to install a streetlight on telephone pole number 4 on Boylston Street. And that was held, last held at the 7/26/22 meeting.
Yeah.
Commissioner Erickson. do you have
So
anything to report?
this was held at the last meeting based on Councilor Boschman's recommendations to wait until the development went in over there. The development's still under construction. So we could either continue to hold it and wait until that development's completed. I've gone out there. It's certainly a little bit dim in that location, but I don't think it's terrible.
It's not.
I don't think a new light really is warranted here, but if the resident's complaining that it's too dark, then that's kind of a subjective thing too. So that would be my recommendation to the committee.
I make a motion that we withdraw this petition.
Second.
Do I take that under unanimous consent? Okay. So that's leave to withdraw on 02722. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
Second.
We are adjourned.